Thank you for being here and thank you for making this a priority. We are in this 2-week series that I had planned a while back, Cultivating Happy Holidays, and then last week happened. For those of you who were here last week or might have seen it on the replays, it was a Sunday where we were just very raw and tender with one another. And I so appreciate that we can do that we are not a teaching that, makes the person who happens to be the one up here be like, it's all good, when it's not all good. When there's a lot happening in the world that really gets our attention, and we talked last week about that is on an individual path, things are happening in this thing called life, and then on the global scale, what's happening in the world and how much it affected us. So anytime during the week, this week, every once in a while you heard somebody go, Shalom, Shanti, Shalom. So we chanted last week together. We chanted those 4 phrases of sacred phrases, really of different languages, of different religion and faith backgrounds. And it brought us all together, hasn't it? It really, I had so many conversations with people who said, thank you for asking me to expand my own consciousness, my own beingness, to allow other points of views, other experiences in. Because what happens so often when things get, when things happen in the world, we have a tendency to close up, to constrict. And so, did you know that from now until the end of the year, there are about 24 different holidays of all the different faith traditions that are in the world? Isn't that amazing? 24. I have 5 planned, and I thought, man, that's a lot. 24. So, the series has been inspired by this idea that we have to prepare our own self for this time of gathering, of coming together with different individuals, different opinions, different family dynamics, let's say. And we come together to celebrate, and how do we hold that paradox? How do we hold that? How do we do that? And I was inspired this week by something that Lao Tzu wrote. Lao Tzu, many of you will know, the Tao, the Taoism, really the path to enlightenment really came through to him. And he said something very interesting. He said, be content with what you have. Have faith in the way things are. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. So I invite us, and today the whole message will be about this, this part of the Tao that really says, have faith in the way things are. Now, there's a part in us who knows that, right? Who understands, who said there's no benefit really of complaining and raging against what's happening right now, because it is happening. That's what's happening in the world. And I love how Harold brought that in. We see things on the news. And of course, there's a part of us that feels like that should not be happening. That should not be happening. And yet, it is what is taking place in the world. And so this whole week I have been looking for ways, how do I make it through this week with being so aware of what is happening in individual lives here in our congregation, in the greater community that we call home, and in the world. And this idea of having faith in the way things are, this idea that there is a greater intelligence that is taking place, and that I only see part of it. I only see a little part of it. And so I love this invitation that says, if we are learning to make space within us to accept and have faith in the way things are, it helps us to really connect with that which is mine to do to make a change. And that sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? It sounds like a paradox. But here's what's going on. When we are thinking about having faith in the way things are, what is closely connected, what is just the other side of the coin, is have faith in who you are. Have faith in who you are. Now, we teach here at the New Vision Center in the Science of Mind phase, we teach that we each are individual manifestations of the divine. We are made out of that love that the meditation so beautifully talked about. We are a vibration of the oneness. And the more we are able to feel and experience ourselves as that, the easier it becomes to accept what is and to have faith in the way things are, and then to connect with what is mine to do. What is mine to do to make a difference? John O'Donohue, oh, no, before I tell you that, I want to tell you something else. So, Dr. Roger Thiel, the Minister Emeritus at Denver Centers for Spiritual Living at the Mile High Church, he introduced me to a practice that I absolutely love. And the practice is threefold. It is wake up, heal up, open up. Wake up. What could wake up stand for? Wake up is what's happening in the world right now. We are being woken up. We are being woken up to an incredible injustice, perhaps. We are being woken up to individuals sharing their life force of loving kindness. We are being woken up to something that resonates within us where I am finding myself saying, I want to make a difference there. But the difference is in this waking up is that we are not invited to complain, to judge, to rage against what is happening, but rather realize that I am a center of the divine beingness, as each one of us is. And instead of raging against what's happening, I am invited to open up to the possibilities. Opening up to the possibility of peace in the midst of chaos. Opening up to the possibility of an elegant solution when it looks like individuals or communities or parties or states are at a deadlock. That is what I believe we are being woken up to. Wake up. And John O'Donohue says that once the soul awakens, the search begins and you can never go back. From then on, you are inflamed with a special longing that will never again let you linger in the lowlands of complacency and partial fulfillment. When we are waking up to the fact that we are actually a choice. We are a choice at every moment. When something happens, when I see something on the news, when somebody tells me something, I am a choice. Do I want to analyze it, judge it, have a reaction to it that is limiting and constricting me? Or do I choose to go beyond it and find a way where I can open myself up? Well, that, beloveds, really has to do with where we find ourselves on our own individual spiritual journey. If we find ourselves in a place what we often here refer to as a kingdom one, which is the place where I feel that the life is just happening to me. I have no input on it, right? And we all have been there, right? We all have been there where something happens and we are at the total effect of it. Well, if we find ourselves in a place of victimhood, is what we refer to that, then we hear somebody say, faith in the way things are, and we say, I don't know that I can do this anymore. It is, however, very different when we hear that, when we are in a place of empowerment, when we have done our own work of healing, of laying down limiting beliefs, and we are in a place where we know that we are one in the one, and that the entire world is a reflection of where we are. When we're in that space, we hear it and we take it as an invitation to do our work. And that might look like chanting sacred phrases. It might look like finding a practitioner, engaging in a relationship with a practitioner, with somebody who is trained to see a greater vision, greater possibilities. It might be picking up a practice that works with you daily, preferably, and really engage in how do I respond to life. It is a question that we could ponder for the whole day. That's why we often say Sunday mornings really point us into a direction, and when it resonates with us, if there's a part within us that says, I got to spend a little bit more time with that. How do I respond when something happens? Good example was yesterday. You heard it mentioned by Susan. Yesterday, we had about 150 people here on the campus at all times. We had 20 vendors in our expo. Kathy Scherf has done a fabulous job organizing that. It was magnificent. And so we had the expo going on. We had our Saturday church that is renting the social hall that was having their service while we were having an expo. And then there's a yoga studio, and then one of the 12-step groups came. So it was a very, very busy, busy day. And here's what's interesting to me. I heard everything from, oh my God, that was incredible. That was wonderful. The connection. I met so many new people, all the way over to, well, that was way too much for this campus. Right? And isn't that every time more than one person comes together? When I'm just there all by myself, there's only one opinion. But the moment there are other people showing up and talk about the holidays, the moment other people show up, there's a lot of different ways of truly experiencing this thing called life. And we are very, very attached to our own way of seeing it, aren't we? So that's the invitation, really. And Ernest Holmes says, it is not our spirit that needs to be made whole. It is our mental reaction to life that needs healing. It is our mental reaction to life that needs healing. And these mental reactions are both conscious and subjective or unconscious. We are not aware of them. And so a teaching like this teaching, a community like this community continuously invites us to wake up to the fact that how I see whatever it is that I'm looking at is really changed by my perception. It looks very different to a different person. And sometimes in a spiritual community, we fall into this trap that we feel like we all, all 120 of us here and another 120 online, we are all one because we know that we are here in a place where we affirm our oneness. Well, let me tell you something. That is not always the case. There are many, many, many different opinions about whatever is happening, how we do things here, how I lead, what I wear, all kinds of opinions, right? And I think it behooves us to be compassionate, to make sure that we don't kick anybody outside of our hearts, and most importantly, our own self. Practicing self-compassion moves us forward on this journey of healing. So wake up, heal up, and why would we do that? Well, we do that because we want to open up. We want to open up our hearts, our minds, our entire being to have that deep connection that we are yearning for. We want to do this so we can reveal the power of love wherever we go. If we are in our car, stuck in traffic, or if we are together in spiritual community, we want to feel this opening of our hearts. And that, beloveds, is a mindset. It reminds me of this story of the elderly lady who had just lost her husband of many, many years. She is in her early 90s, and she moved into a facility, into a assisted living place. And so she arrives there with her 2 suitcases, and she's asked to wait in the lobby, and the lady who's going to show her to her room comes, and she's all bubbly, and she says, "Oh, Mrs. Smith, you are going to love your room. We have the most beautiful little window coverings that we put up, and we arranged your furniture just so. You are going to love it." And the lady says, Mrs. Smith says, if I love it, has nothing to do with how you arranged the furniture. It has everything to do with how I arranged my mind. Have I made the decision to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be in a place where I feel like home? That's the decision. And we can use that as we look forward, as we project our gaze towards this holiday season, whatever your individual tradition is. Yes, there may be beloveds who are not going to be around at that. Things change. And yet, it is a decision that we make if we are going to have a happy holiday season. Wayne Dyer, in his wisdom, said, "Peace is a result of retraining your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be." And that's really the work, isn't it? That is, I believe, what Lao Tzu talks about when he says, have faith in the way things are. Recognize and know that the world is doing its thing. The world will continue to do. Life will continue to happen. And it is up to us to make the choice right in that moment. Do I allow this to constrict me, to close my heart? Or do I take whatever this is and allow it to open myself up so that I can be in deep connection with who I am, with the divine of my own understanding, and move forward to give my gift the way I'm called to do. I am so grateful we are on this journey together. I don't know how people do it without being in a beloved community. Thank you. And so let us anchor this in prayer. How it blesses me to know that we are one in the one, that there is one infinite intelligence that is at work at all times, and that each and every one is of it, has its being in it, as it has its being in us. How grateful I am to know that there truly is no separation, that the love that is the divine is right at the center of my being. And as I know that it is at the center of my being, I know that it is at the center of every person's being. For there is no place where God is not. There's no place where the divine is not. And so I allow myself to breathe into the space, to that knowingness, and being blessed and uplifted by that feeling of oneness. I speak my word for all of the prayer requests that have come to this beloved community. Uplifting each individual, knowing that each one is on their individual path, and whatever we are called to do to support them, we are willing to do. The faith, the trust, the love that is present here uplifts all beloveds. And so it is with such a grateful heart, with so much love, that I simply place this word into universal law, into the law that says yes, the law that has always been and will always be. Now let it go. And we can all know this truth together as we say, so it is.